Not far from the steel blue Atlantic Ocean of Miami Beach, IndyCar Racing's best is set to chase for an elusive pot of gold in the Marlboro Challenge. Last year, Emerson Fittipaldi came close, running second and ready to strike for the win when his tank ran dry with less than a lap to go. And the frustration here shows the weight he put upon winning. He's back today, but the tactics remain unchanged.
When the flag drops, I have to be flat out all the time to the end of the race.
Last year's winner was Bobby Rahal, who took the lead at the start and gave it up during his mandatory pit stop on lap 18. Wrestling it back with 9 laps to go, he learned from last year's experience.
It's going to be a real balancing act between downforce and drag and fuel consumption. And with the fuel stop in there, anything can happen in the pits. You know, I think obviously you have to go hard, but you also have to go hard within the limits.
Danny Sullivan comes into this race with his first national championship already in hand. 4 wins and 8 pole positions give some hint of just how dramatic his march to the championship this year has been. Tomorrow night, he'll reap the rewards of that championship season, but this afternoon, his 88 performance has earned him the pole position in the Marlboro Challenge.
You think about being out in the front, and you go out there, and there's 10 cars on the grid, and it doesn't look like they're spread out very far. Everybody's right there bunched up, and there's a lot at stake for both myself and Little Al with the extra $150,000 bonus from Marlboro. So there's a lot riding on that race. Everybody wants to win it. It's going to be a 40-lap qualifying race.
For some, like Ireland's Derek Daly, a starting spot in the Marlboro Challenge culminates a season laced with promise and no victory laurels. His 10th place starting spot is a victory of sorts and a potential springboard to 88 success.
We set our goal to be in the challenge earlier on in the year. I mean, we didn't qualify with a pole or a win, but there's no reason why Rayner Motorsports should not qualify.
10 cars, 10 drivers, and $750,000. They're the ingredients for today's IndyCar Special. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, brings you Speed World.
Throughout most of the year, this road takes the Tamiami residents to their recreational facility here in Miami, Florida. But this weekend, it's been transformed into a road racing facility for the CART PPG IndyCar World Series and for today's Marlboro Challenge Special Invitational Race. Hello, everyone. We are about set to get underway with this great race that's known as the Marlboro Challenge, the second rendition. I'm Jack Arute, and we'll be bringing you all of the great action from Tamiami Park. And this race is a little bit different than what we're used to seeing because it's a 42-lap contest, and there will only be 1 pit stop. So you've got to run fast from the beginning right to the end if you hope to take home the $250,000 first prize. The Marlboro Challenge will be getting underway very shortly. They're strapping the drivers in their cars at this time, and it's being brought to you by First Brands Corporation, maker of Prestone Advanced Formula Antifreeze, and by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. By Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has and always will. And by Interstate Batteries and their 155,000 authorized interstate dealers all across America. As we said, the drivers are getting strapped in their machines. We're just minutes away from the start of the Marlboro Challenge. We'll be back after this message to give you the starting grid and more important information. Don't go away. We're back here at Tamiami Park, just moments away from the start of today's Marlboro Challenge. I'm Jack Arute, and we're pleased to have working with us today a man that drives these cars on a regular basis, Kevin Kogan. Kevin, you're not in this invitational race, but the money that's up for grabs, it's got to change the tactics.
Well, it does. You know, normally this type of a thing might be a little fun for the guys to go out and thrash around in a race that really doesn't count. But I think when you put up $225,000 for first place, I think that makes it real serious.
Now, what about the racing facility itself? Does it lend itself to real hard driving?
I think it does. Unfortunately, Danny's been having such an incredible year and been going so much quicker, and he's on pole by a wide margin. I think that the most interesting factor could be the weather, I hope. I'm actually hoping for a little bad weather so we can have something to talk about.
Well, a lot of people say that the weather could be the key player here today. You can see the wind is kicked up and there are rain clouds on the horizon. But the Danny that Kevin Kogan alluded to is Danny Sullivan, and he's on the pole for today's race, and he's with our Larry Newber.
Danny Sullivan, the pole setter for today's race. Not only was he the 1988 national champion, but in an informal poll yesterday here along the pits, he was picked as the pre-race favorite. Do you feel like the favorite, Danny?
Not really. I mean, it's nice to be on the pole, but we've got the elite out here. These are the toughest guys and the toughest teams, and they can pull anything out of the bag.
Now, the strategy has been taken away from the crews for today's race because of the rules, but do you have any that you are employing?
Well, we've got to decide. Of course, there's a window between 10 and 32 laps of when we have to stop. So do you stop early? Do you stop late? Then do you change 2 tires or 4 tires? So there's still a little bit left to go, and as you can hear in the background, everybody's practicing their pit work.
Well, this man has controlled most of this season, but he may not be in total control of today's race. With that story, here's Gary Lee.
Thank you, Larry. Good afternoon. So often we have said a race can be won or lost right here in the pit area, but nowhere is that statement more accurate than right here at Tamiami Park in the Marlboro Challenge. There is one mandatory pit stop to be made between laps 10 and 32. The crew will change 2 tires, add about 5 gallons of fuel. They obviously would like to make that stop during a full Courchello if they can get one. Now, as the driver is out there massaging the steering wheel and dancing with the pedals and getting all the attention, the 6 guys over the pit wall could win or lose it.
Well, let's set the field now for today's Marlboro Challenge, starting from shotgun on the field to the pole position. Starting on the outside of row number 5 is Derek Daly of Dublin, Ireland, in the Raynor Garage Lola T8800C. His first race was a demolition derby on a grass oval in Dublin, Ireland. Starting on the inside of that 5th row is Raul Boisel. Now, these 2 drivers made it in by virtue of their position in PPG points going into this race. Now, Boisel originally intended to follow his brother into a horse jumping career, but now he pilots the Domino's Pizza Hot One number 30. Row number 4 finds 2 real strong chargers. Al Unser, whose favorite retreat is going to Chama, New Mexico to snowmobile. He's last year's Indy 500 winner. He'll be starting a Penske PC car. And flanking him on the inside of that 4th row is Bobby Rahal, winner last year of this inaugural event. He's on the inside of row number 4. His secret vice, can you believe this? Eating gummy bears candy. Row number 3 finds a fellow whose favorite music is rock and roll, and he hopes to do some rocking and rolling today in the Cosworth-powered Craco Lola. Michael Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, winner in Miami in 1987 and a winner of the Milwaukee race. Emerson Fittipaldi carries the Marlboro colors today. His first job was as a go-kart mechanic in Brazil, but he hopes to do much better today and maybe fine-tune that machine to victory lane. In the 2nd row, flanking on the outside, is Mario Andretti. Winner this year at Phoenix, Cleveland, and Miami. Would like to have been a jet pilot if he wasn't a driver. Came from Trieste, Italy, and he has rewritten the record book in IndyCar racing. And flanking him on the inside, the man that could be the long shot bet to win this race today, would like most to have dinner with John Cougar Mellencamp or Huey Lewis. It's Al Unser Jr. He'll be starting in position number 3 on the inside of row 2. He's a comer, he's fast, and he likes this facility. The front row finds Penske teammates Rick Mears on the outside in the PC-17, the Pennzoil Special. His secret ambition is to live on a boat, but today he'd like to take the victory laurels. The man that could stop him is the current 1988 national driving champion, Danny Sullivan. He has taken the national championship, and he looks to take down the Marlboro Cash from pole position today. His favorite movie, The Big Chill. So the field has been set, and as we said, there are some long shots in this event. There are some fellas that could be the dark horses. We'll be telling you about that, but right now we're awaiting the command to fire engines here for the Marlboro Challenge.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Larry Zinsky has given the command. The field is coming to full song, getting set to go down. It is 1, as slow as they'll go all day. We'll be back with the start right after this. We're back here at Tamiami Park, and while we were away, a rain shower has wet the racetrack down, so they've elected to start this race under wet tire conditions. Now, that will make some changes on this track because this 1.784-mile facility has a bunch of right-hand turns, but it's a tough one, as you can see. Let's take a look at this Tamiami Park facility, 1.784 miles in length, and the first corner is what many people say is the toughest. They call it the funnel, and it sets you up for one of the few left-hand corners on the facility, turn number 2. Now, you can't come up through the gearbox too quickly because right out of 2, a short chute, and into turn number 3. Turn 3, another right-hand corner. Now, this will allow you to come up through the gearbox, get up to speed, go through a switchback known as turn 4, and then you head into turn number 5, another right-hand corner. At turn number 5, you begin to grit your teeth because there's a series of quick right and left-hand corners which will present themselves as turns number 6 and turn number 7. From turn 7, drivers get ready for a high-speed chase. Out of turn number 7, you get ready for turn number 8. Now, turn 8 is a right-hand corner, but this is where drivers begin to come to full song. It's a long back straightaway run to turn number 9, the final turn on the facility. But most drivers say they're able to take turn 9 at full song if they're operating properly. Out of turn 9, you see in your sights the start-finish line, and that completes a lap here at Tamiami. And you're riding with Al Unser Jr. in the Valvoline race cam, and you can see what the weather has done to his visibility, Kevin Kogan. It's not really as clear sailing as you would like.
No, I'll tell you what, though, Jack, this is, I think, what we really needed to see, because now this race is going to be much more interesting. I think you'll see row 3 coming into play pretty heavily with Emerson Fittipaldi and Michael Andretti both being very, very fast in the wet.
You can see the rooster tails being kicked up, and probably from the in-car camera throughout the day, you'll see a red light on the back of those cars. It's not a brake light, it's actually for visibility, and that will come into heavy play today as this elite field of 10 gets set for the start in the Marlboro Challenge, the second rendition. And look at the money that's up for grabs here, Kevin. $225,000 for first, but not too shabby back down to 5th spot either.
Like I was saying earlier, this is what makes this a very serious race for these guys. It's not just for fun. There's a lot of money involved.
$20,000 for last place, and that's a sizable piece of cash when you take a look at the fact that it's the richest race per mile. And we alluded to the fact that there was an informal poll taken of the drivers that didn't make the challenge as to who would win this race, in as much as it's an election year. And look at the breakdown there.
Well, I think that this percentage is going to change radically if this wet conditions stay like it is, because like I said earlier, Emerson Fittipaldi is the master of the wet, and Michael's a hard charger too.
Now, you were asked before in that poll when it was in dry conditions, who'd you vote for then?
I voted for Danny. I felt that with his big lead on the poll for the race, that he had a good shot at it.
So now you're going to change it to Emerson Fittipaldi. I'll tell you what, when you sit up here in the announcer's booth, you do get an opportunity to change your vote with these last-minute changes in conditions. You know, the question I want to ask you, though, is when we take a look at a driver such as Bobby Rahal, mired in the back, the defending champion, does he have a shot at winning this event?
Well, with the conditions like they are, for sure he does have a chance, and just about anybody has a chance when it's wet like this.
The field is beginning to address itself to turn number 9. We are just a scant few seconds away from the start of today's Marlboro Challenge. Things have changed dramatically from what they had anticipated about 2 hours ago. They thought it would be sunshine, but it's now under wet conditions. The field is very tight as they come to the start-finish line, and the green is out. A green start, darting and diving into turn 1. The funnel turn, as we said, all drivers through with Danny Sullivan in command.
The visibility is so bad, Jack, you can't imagine what it's like to be back in the middle of that pack right now.
Mario Andretti, though, is trying to make a move on the inside of Rick Mears as they round turn 2 and get ready for turn 3. It looks as if Andretti may have moved into second. He has, and taking advantage of Michael, too.
Oh, Michael's gone off.
Now, as a driver, when you make a move that early in this race, we talk about the fact it's only 40 laps. Will that hurt Andretti at all? Get that a little excursion into the mud?
No, I don't think he did any damage right there. That's the best place he could go off. But I tell you, Emerson is really holding back. He's showing a lot of maturity, and I think that that's what's going to take in the first few laps here.
Poise and maturity, especially in wet conditions. There is a classic example of how tough it is.
That's what it looks like out of little Al's visor right now. That's how much he can see right now, just what you're seeing. He can't see hardly at all. That's why that light on the back of the car is so critical, just so you don't run into the guy in front of you.
So in a way, we're racing under braille conditions here at Tamiami Park this afternoon, just searching and seeking your way around as we look at Al Unser Jr. And I wouldn't want to bring a car up to full song into those conditions.
It's probably the scariest thing you'll ever do as a race car driver, is race in the rain, especially with somebody right in front of you, because you really can't see a thing.
On the inside, trying to make a move for the lead was Mario Andretti. Andretti rounding out of turn 1. He tries to set up your leader, Danny Sullivan. Sullivan sees him in the mirror and maybe just does a little bit of blocking, but braking hard and going into that turn 2 area. Andretti takes the lead.
I'll tell you, watch Mario. He's trying to stay offline, to stay out of the previous laid rubber. Everybody else is taking a normal line, but he's going wide around all the rubber that's been laid down earlier.
Mario digging deep into his Formula 1 Grand Prix experience, where he had to run many races under wet conditions, and he has appropriated the lead from Danny Sullivan. It is now Andretti in first, Sullivan running in second, and there is a wholesale shuffle for third, fourth, and fifth position, putting Mears in third, Al Unser Jr. in fourth, and rounding out the front 5 is Michael Andretti. Let's see changed their line at all through these corners, Kevin. It looks as if, again, taking a cue like
I think they're all taking a cue off of Mario right now. Mario, see, notice little Al just went very wide. They're doing that on purpose. They're going inside on some turns and wide on others because they're trying to stay out of the groove. The groove has got rubber down and is very, very slippery.
Again, Danny Sullivan snuck a peek to the inside of Mario Andretti, looking for that lead as 3 cars begin to pull away in actuality as they come to the stripe one more time. Mario having what could be perceived as clear sailing, but not necessarily so, because he has to hunt and find the line as the leader.
Well, yeah, he's the guinea pig right now, but I think the thing is, if it doesn't rain anymore, I think he's probably got it figured out as to where's the best place to run. Now everybody's just taking a cue off of Mario.
Well, taking the cue in fine fashion is your second, third, fourth, and fifth place machines as they pulled away from 6th through 10th. We'll be back with more with Andretti leading, Sullivan in second, Mears in third, Unser Jr. in fourth, and Andretti in fifth. Kevin Kogan topside, Larry Newber and Gary Lee watching this great race from pit road where Mario Andretti has pulled to about a half-second advantage over Danny Sullivan, but the battle is enjoined for 4th position. Al Unser Jr. trying to hold off the advances of Mario's son, Michael.
Well, right now, actually, Jack, what's happening is the field is actually tightening up. There was a gap between Michael and Emerson. Now, basically, it's anybody's race. I think that everyone's going to sit and wait for the other guy to make a mistake and see how the track improves or not.
We talked about the wet conditions. Are there some butterflies as a driver when you first start a race in that situation?
Well, it's very difficult to start a wet race, but you know, you can see right there, Michael's trying desperately to get by Little Al. Little Al almost lost it just there. But it's very difficult to start a wet race because you just have no idea what the track is really going to be like until you run.
Well, Mario Andretti did a fine job in taking the lead away from Danny Sullivan. Sullivan's teammate, Rick Mears, is directly behind Sullivan now in 3rd spot, and Al Unser Jr. holds on to the 4th position. Now, Unser is still looking for that outside line. He's still searching and going where many of the other cars are not going. It looks like maybe he's got a little secret there that he's trying to use to his advantage.
Well, unlike normal conditions, this is kind of like motocross because there's several lines. You want to pick the line that works best for you. You're looking for the place that has the most grip, and in a wet condition like this, it's either inside the groove or outside the groove, depending on the corner, and there's a difference of opinion, but I'll tell you, everybody's staying right with each other, so it seems like they're all doing a good job.
Many people alluded to the fact that possibly the Chevrolets would run away and hide from the rest of the brigade here today, but rain has become the equalizer, as we see. They started the race under wet conditions, everybody opting for the wet tires, and it seems to have done just exactly what Michael Andretti alluded to all weekend, that if this race ran in the rain, it could be anybody's event.
Well, I agree with that somewhat, but I also disagree in that the Chevy is much more drivable as far as down low. The power, it doesn't come on all at once like the Cosworth does. So I would still pick a Chevy if it was me to race in the wet because it has much more drivability to it.
We watch young Al Unser Jr. as he circuits around this course in 4th position, and here is a driver that is extremely hungry. He's a man that's won before this year, but with no wins right now, he is a hungry driver, I would think, Al.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't eaten for 2 weeks, so I am starving to death, yes. No, I think we have a good car, and the team is ready to go racing this weekend. And so if we can get the car working really good, then we're going to give it the best shot we can at the Marlboro Challenge.
Al Unser Jr. takes no prisoners, Kevin Kogan.
Well, I'll tell you, it's an amazing fact over the history of the Unsers that when a lot of money's involved, somehow or another the wick gets turned up and they seem to really produce. So I'm not saying that they're cheap, but I've heard that before.
Well, Al Unser Jr. was sneaking a peek to the inside of Rick Mears there in the battle for 3rd as we watch Mario Andretti. And again, he's showing an awful lot of smoothness and beginning to pull away from Danny Sullivan.
Yeah, he is actually finally now just starting to get away from the rest of everybody. And I think it's just that he has so much experience in the wet. He was smooth, he drove to the front, really didn't risk a whole lot, but he knew where to drive. He knew where the most his grip was on the track, and that's really what got him into the lead.
Well, remember, while there's so much money up front for the winner's share of this purse, it goes all the way back down as we talked about it. And here we see little Al Jr., trying to work around Rick Mears in that battle for the third position. And the rain is beginning to accelerate here, and it's really beginning to come down, and this will just hurt visibility that much more.
Well, it does, but actually it takes a little of the strategy out. I was waiting to see what was going to happen as the track was starting to dry a little bit, but now I think it's going to even it out again, and it's going to be just anybody's race still.
That battle for third continues, going to the outside and getting by is Al Unser Jr. Now he tries to he takes measure of Danny Sullivan. He looks to the inside here. What will it be as they go down in deep into the corner? Goes Al Unser Jr. A great move into those S's.
That was a great move. He's very aggressive when it comes down time to put it all on the line. He's very, very good. He might not be the best qualifier, but I'll tell you, he really stands on it during the race.
Can you hold anything back under these conditions?
Well, actually, in the rain, that's what you're doing. It's a test of how much you can hold back and how fast you can go. It's very difficult.
Well, Gary Lee has been down on pit side watching all of the activity, and let's check in with him. Gary?
We talked before the race, Danny Sullivan was the odds-on favorite, but the rain has become the great equalizer. Chuck Sprague, it certainly changes the strategy. What is he saying to you right now from the cockpit?
Oh, we haven't been discussing much, actually. He's just trying to make do under the conditions. It comes and goes so quickly, it's hard to develop any sort of strategy at all. If you think, well, we'll run until the rain tires give up and then go to the dries, well, it might rain again. I mean, the skies here are completely unpredictable at this point. We're just going to have to play the thing by ear. At the moment, he hasn't complained about the car or registered any complaints about anything, actually. It's just survival of the fittest at this point. You don't want to do anything stupid in case the track dries out and you can get some speed back.
Actually, guys, in a survey of the crew chiefs down here, there's very little conversation going on between the cockpit and the pit area.
Well, the drivers are very busy, Gary Lee, specifically Danny Sullivan in second position. He's being trailed by Rick Mears, Michael Andretti, and now Raul Boisel have come into the hunt for that second spot, and they are hammering on each other.
Yeah, Raul's really charged up, and it's amazing that Rick right now is really challenging Danny. He's actually tried to go by him a couple times.
Well, you know, we talk about the teammates there, the Mears-Sullivan combination, and in this particular race, whoa, Mears went very, very wide there. Obviously, he lost it going into that corner.
Yeah, he got a little more slide than he was expecting, I can tell you. He went way wide that time.
Well, that's the case where the laundryman that cleans the fire retardant suit later in the week finds out just how close it was. But Raul Boisel is really beginning to pour on the heat here. He's moved up another notch, and now Boisel is being shown in the fifth position. A fine run in the Domino's hot run.
Yeah, Raul is doing an excellent job. He took advantage of Rick when he went wide there, so that was an easy pass for him. I think he's going to have a lot tougher time with Michael. Michael wants to move up also.
Boisel also a fine runner in the wet. He ran the Group C category for World Endurance Racing before he came to IndyCar racing on a full-time basis for Team Shearson. So he has some wet experience as well.
You can't get any more wet experience than the WEC. That's the World Endurance Championship, and they run for hours and hours and hours in Europe, so you know they run a lot in the rain.
And to think that he started all the way back in 9th position in this elite field, he is really beginning to show some mettle, very much like he did at Mid-Ohio, where he ran so well in that IndyCar race in the wet.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the Europeans do have an advantage over the Americans, except for Mario. You got to realize that Mario's done a lot of European races.
We've got a battle for the lead here as we come down into the corner. Mario Andretti looks in his rearview mirror. What does he see but number 6, the Valvoline Special of Al Unser Jr. There is Unser Jr.'s view of the lead. That's where he's trying to go around Danny Sullivan.
I'll tell you, you know, early in the race, if I thought there was a dark horse, I was picking Little Al. I really was. I felt that he had a heck of a chance, but I was thinking he had the best chance in the dry. This is really surprising to me.
We said that he was trying to get around Danny Sullivan. Actually, he's trying to get around Mario Andretti. He's looking, seeking, trying to penetrate for that front position. But right now he holds on to second with Sullivan in third, Andretti in fourth, Boisel in fifth. Back at Tamiami, we've had an altercation in the corner. Your leader, Mario Andretti, is spun just as Al Unser Jr. was trying to get around him for the lead.
That's just what Little Al was trying to do. He's putting pressure all the time on a veteran like Mario, and it paid off. But usually you don't see that happen.
Little Al hammering and hammering lap, corner after corner. Mario Andretti spins the car out and gives the lead to Al Unser Jr. Shades of Emerson Fittipaldi and Al Unser Jr. at the Marlboro Meadowlands race, where they went after each other with Fittipaldi crashing into the retaining barrier.
Well, I'll tell you, Little Al came out smelling like a rose on that one because he didn't expect Mario to spin. He just was putting pressure on him, waiting for him to make a slight mistake. I'm sure that nobody was more surprised than Little Al that Mario spun in front of him like that.
This is why you call it the Marlboro Challenge. You have no room to rest, no respite at all. Let's take a look at it, Kevin. Just exactly what occurred as they went down into the corner.
Well, it looks like Mario just really got a little too far out there and got a little bit into the wet stuff. I don't know, maybe Little Al might have touched him. That was pretty close. From that camera angle, it's very difficult to tell.
It's so difficult ever to tell, as I'm very sure can attest to, whether you actually did hit a fellow or not when you're running in tight quarters. Let's take a look at it in the high camera there. And
it's very difficult to tell, but I wouldn't be surprised if Little Al might have just barely touched him there.
And yet, as we watch those replays, the one thing I was impressed with the fact that as he began to spin, Mario Andretti was looking to his right, seeing where Little Al was. So obviously they were in close quarters and knew that something was about to give.
Well, either that, Jack, or he was looking to see who might hit him. Because when you're spinning like that, you start to think about the safety aspect.
Well, this race has now changed dramatically. The lead has been taken over by Al Unser Jr. And Danny Sullivan, who started on the pole, is now resting comfortably in second position. In third is Michael Andretti, as we pick up a battle here for the fifth spot. That's held by Rick Mears.
I'll tell you something, Jack. It'd be amazing because this would be the second race this year that Little Al won because he hit the person in front of him and put him out of his way this year. So if he wins this race, it'll be interesting if he actually did touch Mario.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if he can maintain his front-running position. But as we watch Emerson Fittipaldi, who we both had said would be so terrific in the rain here, it's clearly evident that either the car is not up to full song or that he really just doesn't have the muscle that he needs to get up there and duke it out with the likes of Unser Jr.
Well, one thing you have to realize about racing in the rain, Emerson is very good when his car is set up for the wet. He knows how to set it up, and you have to realize that most of these guys were expecting to race in the wet.
Mario Andretti has refired his engine, and he is now circuiting around the racetrack. And Mario has not reported, there's no report that he will have to pit, so he will stay out there currently in the 9th spot. And that's a bitter pill for him to swallow, as this man is the fellow that got into the altercation and took over the front position. But even he's on the ragged edge.
He almost lost it. I mean, Little Al's really trying hard. See, he's not holding back at all. He's almost spun it just a couple times since we've been watching him. So he is standing on the gas really hard. He wants to win this.
They say for drivers to be the best at their best, they must go 11/10ths, and that seems to be the case with Michael Andretti at the present time, who's in 3rd spot. He is all over the back deck lid of Danny Sullivan, especially in some of the tighter corners.
If there's another guy out there that is going to stand on the gas, it's Michael. I think that Danny's feeling the pressure right now.
Let's go down to Larry Newber. He's got a story on pit road.
Well, you know, maybe all the people we talked to yesterday knew more than all of us so-called experts. You know, your guy was picked in that informal poll as second. What's he saying right now in the cockpit?
He's awful busy. He's not saying anything. We're just trying to hang where he's done a great job, and it's kind of bad conditions out there. So, you know, there's a lot more race to run.
The wet track conditions have really changed the pit strategy, Rick. What is it right now?
Well, we plan to go about halfway, and we plan to do just about what we've tried to do all season. So we're just going to run the best race we can.
Well, before the rain, Jack, Rick told me they were going to change 4 tires as well as put in that extra fuel. They were planning on a routine pit stop in an Indianapolis car race.
Well, Larry, it'll be far from routine, I'm sure, as we ride in the Valvoline in-car camera here with Al Unser Jr., your leader. Visibility, Kevin Kogan, much better than before, but the track is beginning to show a groove as well, and that very well could portend maybe a change in strategy and tactics as we get ready for the mandatory pit stop. Don't forget, it comes between laps 10 and 32. So, Al Unser Jr. continues to lead Danny Sullivan, Michael Andretti, Raul Boisel, Rick Mears is in the 5th spot. We'll be back. Back at Tamiami, the challenge is for second position. Michael Andretti goes to the inside of Danny Sullivan and takes over this runner-up spot. So now, Michael Andretti almost takes up the challenge that his spinning father left there on the mantelpiece for him.
Well, Michael's been knocking on the door with Danny for a long time, and he's been putting the pressure on, and Danny's been driving very cleanly to keep Michael behind. I think actually you need to drive a little dirtier to keep an Andretti behind you like that.
Boy, I don't don't know about that, Kogan. You mean to say that you have to do some more defensive driving to hold off the Andretti?
It's all part of the business. As long as you can, finishing second's a lot better than third.
Well, you can see the advantage, the separation between first and second in that great shot as Michael Andretti seems to have maybe turned the wick up just a bit as he's pulled away from Danny Sullivan in third. And Raul Boisel, a great call to this youngster because he's done terrific in this race. Starting in ninth, he is now being posted in the fourth position. A great run for Team Shearson. He finished third, filling in for an injured Roberto Guerrero in last year's inaugural challenge.
I'll tell you, Michael has a shot at catching Little Al because they weren't that far ahead. I think Danny might have been holding him up just a little bit. So now he has a clear track in front of him. And it looks like he's making up a little bit of distance.
It looks as if Danny Sullivan may be indeed holding up just a tad. Raul Boisel as well. Now, we were talking about tactics. Pit stops coming up shortly. It will play an important role in today's race, and it's the source of our very important quick fact for today in the Marlboro Challenge. Quaker State Quick Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
One pit stop is required during today's race, and what happens during that stop, particularly with the fuel situation, could well determine the outcome. Now, CART has eliminated any strategy that can be employed by the teams requiring the cars to start on full tanks or 40 gallons of fuel. 5 gallons are left in this fuel tank here in the pits to be added during the pit stop. Plus, you are required to stop between laps 10 and 32. Now, what this means is that the teams have absolutely no idea on their fuel mileage consumption, leaving the only swing factor is that very tempting boost control knob in the driver's cockpit. And what all this means is that this very, very rich race boils down to nothing more than a crapshoot.
Well, right now, the man that is rolling the dice may indeed be Danny Sullivan and Raul Boisel. They are still enjoined in a terrific battle for the third position that's held by Sullivan. And Sullivan is definitely not holding anything back.
Well, I think that Raul isn't holding anything back, that's for sure. He's really pressing hard, and I think that, if anything, Danny might be holding him up just a little bit. It seems like it's very difficult to pass in these types of conditions. You have to realize the man on line has got the dry groove, and the guy trying to pass is in the wet.
Now, Sullivan and Al Unser Jr., our current leader, are two drivers that also have a chance at a bigger bonus as well as the $200,000-plus winner's share. Because of the Marlboro Million, for the winner of 2 of the 3 races that have the Marlboro name all year, the Meadowlands race, the Marlboro 500, and this Marlboro Challenge, those 2 drivers, as we look at Boisel getting around Danny Sullivan, have a chance at a $150,000 bonus. So Sullivan is seeing that go by the boards as Unser Jr. continues to lead. He very well could begin to count his money, but he better not as Boisel begins to pick up the pace. Al Unser Sr. has now been lapped by your 1, 2, 3 combination. He is definitely off the pace.
Al Unser had the opportunity to help his son out a little bit, and he decided to let everybody go at it and race.
But here is your leader out front. Visibility, as we said, somewhat in question as the track is beginning to dry. But Michael Andretti has made up almost 4 seconds in the last 2 laps, and he is right on the rear wing of Al Unser Jr., your leader. This is a battle for the front spot.
This is what it's all about right here. Both of these guys are hard chargers. This is for a lot of money, and I know right now that Michael is going to be very, very aggressive.
Now, Larry Newbert talked about the crapshoot on pit road in terms of fuel. When you're in a battle like this, do you have a tendency to go to the boost
Here he goes.
a little more?
Try it right here. This is one of the toughest places to try it. Almost impossible.
Down through turn 9, and he just sails right along. But Michael Andretti tries down into turn 1. Can't hold off Al Unser Jr., and Jr. takes back the spot. And boy, he had to really hold his breath because they hit that rooster tail of wet.
I'll tell you, you're going to see this happen and happen until he finally gets by. I think Michael is by far the most aggressive man out there right now.
You've been a teammate to Michael Andretti, and you guys got very close during your days with Craco. He is one whale of an aggressive race car driver.
Well, I'll tell you, when the money's... Oh, look at this. Here he goes. He's got him this time. Yep.
Pure aggression, but look at...
He's going to get him back. No. That is so difficult to do. You have no idea. To try to pass a guy who's on line in the dry, and you're trying to overtake in the wet.
These 2 drivers, though, are they having fun?
Well, Michael's having a ball right now, I can tell you. He's leading the race and pulling away from Little Al, so he's having a great time. He's looking at $225,000.
But there are also 2 types of drivers that they say when you strap in the cockpit, they chew nails and spit rust. They both really like to hammer on any driver.
That's true, but I can tell you that Michael will try and try and try. Little Al might sit and wait for his shot, but Michael will just continually give it every time he can, every time he sees an opening. You saw how many times he tried to pass Little Al, and he just kept persistence.
Throughout the week, Michael Andretti was quoted in the media around here as we look at Raul Boisel, who's now being posted in the 3rd position, as saying that if this race was run in the wet, that he would be a primary contender for the lead and for the victory. That seems to be the case right now, despite the fact that you can begin to see that the groove is drying up very nicely.
And it's amazing to me that the groove is so dry and still the passing is going on, because the passing has to be done off that groove that's dry and done in the wet. So that's the amazing part.
As we look at the cars, though, it looks as if in the dry conditions, some of these teams are beginning to pull away. There's a little bit more separation than we saw when it was actually in the wet. So, you know, I've got to say that, as you said in our open, that if we had a little bit of rain, we might have a real contest here in this Marlboro Challenge.
Well, you know, also Michael really improved quite a bit in qualifying on Saturday from Friday, so he might have a very good setup with these wet tires on the dry track. It just might be handling very nice and neutral for him, and he might just, like I said before, you're kind of picking and choosing your way around the racetrack, and he's doing it better than anybody right now.
And the thing that both Andretti and Unser will have to contend with very shortly is a dwindling fuel supply. They'll have to make a decision in consultation with their crew chiefs as to when to bring their cars in. If you were the leader, Kevin Kogan, when would you bring him in?
Well, I would try to leave it as late as possible, because it's possible that it might dry out enough to where you could go to dries. If it was me, I would try to hold off as long as I could run and see how the track develops.
Well, we'll find out shortly whether he'll be able to come into the pits early or later, because right now that's the decision that's up to Michael Andretti and Sullivan.
Well, you know, it's interesting here because he doesn't seem to be able to even keep up with Little Al and Michael, who are currently on wets and he's on slicks. So that's where you have to make your decision from, is what's happening right there, and it doesn't look like the right decision right now.
So Barry Green, who told Larry Newber that they're going to elect to go to slick tires, he may be watching this as well, as Sullivan mired back in 8th place. We told you he was the early leader, and several more. A spin, Sullivan into the corner, and could have been the wet.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. You know, it's too hard to race on slick tires in any kind of water whatsoever, and there's puddles all over the place, and I'm sure that's what happened.
In the meantime, Bobby Rahal has come onto pit road, and he will take up slicks as well.
This could be a race of attrition if everybody goes with dries and has the problem that Sullivan just had.
Here's your battle for the lead. Alan Jr. No, he's going into the pits. Michael Andretti is presenting himself on pit road, and he will give the lead back to Alan Jr. But let's watch the action on the Craco team, and let's go to Larry Newber for the call. Larry?
Barry Green and crew are ready and poised to go. Michael Andretti, who has not won a race yet in 1988, could this be his day finally? They elect a 4-tire change. As expected, they go to the dry tires. They think that Michael can handle these slightly wet conditions. They expect to dry more. They're in and out. It's a very efficient mandatory pit stop here in this year's challenge for Michael Andretti.
13.2 seconds, a fine stop. We got a quick glimpse of Danny Sullivan. There he is. He's out of the car, somewhat dejected, but he's got a fine payday still with the national championship.
Yeah, he's had a great year, but I'll tell you something. You know, Michael was going to school on Danny. You think he would have figured out that Danny on slicks right in front of him was not going as fast as he was on wet, so maybe Michael knows something that Danny doesn't.
Well, Emerson Fittipaldi in and out of the pits as well, and it looks as if he's elected to go to slicks, and it could be the fact that many of these crew chiefs, as we heard, were really debating as to how far to run the string out in terms of fuel, lap 32, and really didn't contend with the slick or dry tire situation.
Yeah, I would have tried to keep it. Little Al just came into the pits.
And now Little Al Jr. and Mario Andretti are on pit road, and let's see what the Rick Gallis team will choose to do in terms of tire combinations. Let's go to Gary Lee. Gary?
Well, Jack, there has been some indecision on the part of the Valvoline Gallis crew. They were going to go to racing slicks. At the last moment, just before he came in, they took those off the pit lane and went to the rain tire. Then they made another decision to go back to the slicks. So now he's on slicks. Al Unser has made the stop. He is on slicks.
And here's Michael Andretti now. He's going to challenge for the lead. As you can see in the upper right of your screen, it is Al Unser Jr. coming out of pit road. He is out ahead, but Andretti is now close to within breathing distance of that front position that he's held earlier today, and now he'd like to reappropriate from young Al Unser Jr.
Well, Little Al has a tremendous advantage here now because people were able to pass in the wet from a guy who was leading in front of him because they had wet tires on. Now you're going to have to try to pass on a wet track with slick tires from a guy in front of you who's on a dry groove. It's going to be very difficult to do. You can see right there.
but he is hanging it out, literally, as they work down into beneath the Nissan Bridge with Al Unser Jr., your leader. Michael Andretti has turned the wick up for the final laps here, running over the ripple strips through the corners, trying to straighten out this circuit, and now he looks to the inside of Al Unser Jr. and just about spun the car out.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Michael is going in the wet to try to pass little Al on the dry. It's very difficult.
And the fellow that has probably the best shot of all this action is directly in front of these two drivers, and that's at Michael Andretti's father, Mario. We'll be back for the exciting finish right after these messages. Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. It continues to be young Andretti over Unser, but both of them slicing through this traffic like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, actually, Michael pulled out just for a second, but now he has more traffic to contend with. I think he's going to have a very difficult time. He has to not only think about getting around the guy in front of him, but what little Al's going to do behind him, because little Al is going to try every chance he can to take advantage of Michael's misfortune, if he has any.
And that is the battle for 4th and 5th position directly in front of your lead contention. So there are battles right here as we work through turn 6 and 7. Raul Boisel and Rick Mears battling for 4th and 5th. And your front runner, Michael Andretti, trying to use that battle and that race traffic to hold off Al Unser Jr. Now, he gained a little bit of an advantage as he went around Rick Mears.
Yeah, I was surprised that Rick let him by like that, because he was racing for Raul for position. So, you know, nobody wants to give up anything, because there's a lot of money involved, even for 4th and 5th spot.
We can count the laps on 2 fingers. There are less than 2 laps to go, and it is Michael Andretti looking to pick off where he ended last year here in Miami when he won the race. And here's Al Jr. going to the inside.
Oh, he almost
slammed the door.
He did lose it. He's going to hit. He did lose it.
Hitting very hard is Al Unser Jr.
There's a tremendous amount of water. That was right in front of us here, and there's actually running water across the track, and Al ran just a couple feet offline.
And there's the look from the team, and there's the look from the race car. Through turn 9, as we said all day, you can run literally flat out if you're operating well. And they say close is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades, and close was not good enough for Al Unser Jr. today. He has crashed badly in turn 9. The yellow station is being shown in turn 9, and now it's all Michael Andretti in these final few laps of the Marlboro Challenge. The pressure is off of Andretti. This is the white flag lap for young Michael. He's going to be going by the crash scene momentarily.
I got to tell you, Jack, you know, it doesn't matter that this race doesn't end under the green. This was the best race there's been all year. I mean, that was an incredible dice back and forth, and little Al did not ever give up. Michael never gave up. And, you know, it just shows you by Al Jr. crashing, which he doesn't do that often, how hard he was trying to get by Michael.
And this will be a victory for Cosworth Power. This is the team that's worked so hard with the new Cosworths. And now as they go out of turn 9 and come to the start-finish line, the winner will be, and he'll receive the checkered flag from starter Nick Finaro. Michael Andretti has won the Marlboro Challenge, and behind him, somewhat dejected, but gave it 115% is Al Unser Jr., who has crashed in turn 9. So the Marlboro Challenge is over. Michael Andretti is your winner. Moving into second is Fittipaldi. Al Unser Jr. will hold on to third. Mears in fourth, and Boisel in fifth.
I'm just saying that was the only win for
Michael Andretti to finally win one, but you picked a good one, Michael.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was a dogfight. I don't know exactly what happened with little Al. I know he was, you know, trying me on the inside. I didn't see him, and I was afraid of that because there's no, I mean, all it is water on the inside, and he must have got in that stuff, and I feel bad for it. I was hoping we'd have a better finish than that.
It really was a good dice, a good clean dice before that incident.
Yeah, it was. You know, I love driving with Al Jr., and we were having a lot of fun. It's just a shame that it ended up the way it did. I was hoping we could go right down to the last lap, but, well, I'm sorry, Al. I didn't know you were there.
As everyone knows, Michael is leaving this team when the season is over. This is a nice way to step aside.
Indeed it was, Larry Newberg. The Winner's Circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. So Michael Andretti is the winner of the Marlboro Challenge, but the great story is here with 1 lap to go in the race, rounding out of turn 9. Al Unser Jr. just let it all hang out and tried to take the lead, and watch what happens.
An aggressive little Al just tried a place he'd never been before on the track, and the water was a little bit deeper than he reckoned for.
Now you want to take a look and ride with a driver when he has a problem like this in turn 9? Watch this. And his hopes and dreams and aspirations of the winner's check in the Marlboro Challenge went up with busted fiberglass. Al Unser Jr. did manage to hold on, though, and finish in the 4th position. But Michael Andretti has been selected as the Goodyear Eagle driver of the race, and for his efforts, Goodyear will be awarding $1,000 to the Championship Auto Racing Auxiliary. In his name, it will be from a very good driver to a very, very good cause. So the Marlboro Challenge is history, and the winner is Michael Andretti, and the Marlboro Challenge has been brought to you by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug. By Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that crisp, clean taste. This Bud's for you. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. The Marlboro Challenge, most definitely the best race we've ever seen on a road racing facility. I'm Jack Arute.
With surprises in the inaugural